trying to figure out ways how to diversify and put your dollars to work for you, I think are key, particularly in this unique inflationary economic environment where we're dealing with today.
Welcome to Get Diversified, everyone. My name's Jacqueline Landry, and I have my other half here, Melvin Landry, with me. And we are here today to talk about self-directed IRAs. So, Melvin, let's start off by telling our audience, what is a self-directed IRA?
Self-directed IRA is an individual retirement account. Self-directed means just that. You have the freedom to invest in different and diversified assets for long-term placement, health, and profitability.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. If somebody has a 401k, is that the same thing?
No, not necessarily. So, and again, you should check with your custodian because in many cases, 401k plans have custodians who are limited in your overall investment options. And in many cases with 401ks, you have your investment advisors who particularly can make investments for you. And also, again, is limited on what you can do from that regard. So I'm a recipient of a couple of 401ks. And let me tell you, it was an eye-opening experience for me between the 401k, which I had been doing over the years from various jobs that I had until I started getting into self-directed IRAs where I can make those respective choices. So a very big change.
Fantastic. When it comes to, somebody wanting to set up a self-directed IRA, maybe they have one that's sitting at a former company that they used to work for. Tell the audience a little bit more about what the process is to get your old 401k from your former job, turned over into a self-directed IRA.
So in many cases, it's just understanding with your first custodian who owns, say, a 401k, understanding what that process is to transfer or what they would call rollover to another plan, if you will. So, in many cases, there are like-for-like comparisons. So if you're looking to, you maybe have a traditional 401k, maybe looking to roll over to a traditional IRA, what you want to do, you want to check with the new custodian also as well. So understanding what the parameters are from the old custodian to the new custodian is something that you should do first. Secondly, what I would recommend also, different custodians charge different array of fees also as well. So, always be aware of what's being charged, the cadence of what is being charged, and if that makes sense for you in terms of a fee structure and things of that nature. So those would be, at least the first two steps I would do in terms of aiming to try to roll it over to another custodian.
Fantastic. So this next one, I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to answer it, and then you could go ahead and add your color commentary. So why would somebody want to take a current 401k and move it over to a self-directed IRA? So I was in this situation and I did exactly that. Why? Because I can invest in whatever I want to invest in. Now, there's parameters in that, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So typically when you have a 401k, you have a list, it's a menu item, and it says check off what you want and the percentages. Do you want to be high risk, low risk, medium? Do you want stocks, bonds? What is it that you want to invest in? And those are your options. Well, those options all go away and you could do whatever you want when you transfer your money into a self-directed IRA. So you can invest in real estate. You can buy a house. You can buy a building. You can lend money to somebody. You can invest in gold and silver. You can invest in mobile home parks, self-storage, you name it, cryptocurrency, private equity startups, which is called venture capitalists. So there's a whole bunch of different ways. It's limitless with respect to what you can invest in. And the other nice thing about it is I like these assets because you can feel and touch them. They're not these stocks and bonds that are kind of out there in the world. There's nothing physical to touch, right? I can go touch the mobile home park that I'm investing in, or the house, or the real estate, or the self-storage, so on and so forth. So that's what I like about self-directed IRA. It gives me the ability to invest in what I think is the best return on my investment. So, honey, what do you want to add?
I'll say the same thing. So just say 10 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know in terms of articulating my investment thesis, if you will. So I had a substantial amount of capital and 401ks, IRAs also as well. And the money wasn't put to work. I got in the right rooms, I got educated, and I got curious in terms of ways to diversify the existing capital that I had and looking to kind of build upon that from that respective standpoint as well. So last 12, 24 months have been heavy inflationary. So, the dollar doesn't go as far as it did, say 5, 6, 7 years ago, to say the least. So really understanding that you have options, I think, is key, and trying to put money to work to put it to work for you. So I think it's key, not only in the short term, but in the long term, because I don't think we're going to leave this heavy inflationary environment that we're in. So now more than ever is time to start, getting educated in terms of options and putting your dollars to work for you versus being stagnant.
Awesome. So the one thing I did want to mention, and I don't think we covered this yet, is there's a few things that you can't invest in with respect to a self-directed IRA. And those are life insurance, collectibles, or deals that you are benefiting yourself or a close family member. So just wanted to put that out there so you realize that you can't go take your self-directed IRA and invest in a life insurance policy or some fancy collectibles. So just wanted to mention that. So let's move on here. Let's talk about the benefits of using a self-directed IRA.
So when we think about, benefits, of a self-directed IRA, again, the freedom, the flexibility, the ability to diversify. Like in many cases, depending on the type of IRA that you get, right? There's a traditional, there's a Roth. I own both. One's pre-tax, one's are, after tax in terms of the cadence of the deposit that go into it. And also something else, from a retirement vehicle standpoint, knowing and understanding what your maximum contributions are, I think, are key and critical. I think for, if you're, 59 and a half, you can contribute up to, I think, $7,500 annually. So being able to, say, to maximize all your contributions, that, I think are key. And understanding different avenues that you do with your investment thesis, I think, goes a long way. So, my recommendation would be, just don't have the money just sitting. If it's just sitting in this inflationary environment, your power associated to it is, in many cases, you're losing value. So trying to figure out ways how to diversify and put your dollars to work for you, I think, are key, particularly in this unique inflationary economic environment where we're dealing with today.
Cool. So what I like is higher returns. So, right, I ask people, how your 401k, what's going on with your 401k? Oh, I went up 1% over the last 5 years. It went up 2%, or, oh shit, I lost everything. So I like that there's a potential for a lot higher returns, 10%, 12%, 20%, 30%. So I like that I can choose my investments that have a higher return. Let's keep it real. So as we're on the couch, we're watching TV, we're always talking about real estate stuff. So we put it into perspective. So if somebody says, hey, well, my 401k is doing quite well, it's making 5%. You would tell me I'm wrong. So go ahead and tell me why a 5% investment isn't good with our inflationary number.
Over the past 3-4 years, you've seen inflation tip up 5, 6, 7%. Of course, it has gone down, and it depends on what media outlet you listen to. Okay, so for the sake of this conversation, I looked back. I have a 401k with an educational institution that I've worked with for 22 years, part-time. And I looked at my 401k statement, and while it was a sizable amount of capital that was in there, the actual annualized return was minus 2.7%. So my money is not working for me in that regard. And I'm limited in that 401k as I'm not able to self-direct into other vehicles to get a higher return with this particular custodian. And additionally, the only way that I could potentially benefit is if I took a loan out against it and pay myself back, which is indeed another option to help grow a better return. So again, money's just sitting there. Every particular check, annualized return is minus 2.7%, which is not good. Okay, in this respect.
But even if it was 5% and they say inflation is 5 to 7%, we know when we go to Costco or we go to Giant Eagle or any of those older grocery stores, it's way more than 5 to 7%. You're looking at probably 10, 15, even some people will argue that there's a 20% inflation rate. So 20% to the 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% that you're making in your 401k. I would rather have control over where my money is going by sticking it in a self-directed IRA and investing in real estate. So we're almost out of time here. Just some quick one. Give me a few names of custodians that you like working with in case somebody's thinking about switching their 401k over to a self-directed IRA.
Yeah, there's a lot of custodians out there. So I have I love Equity Trust. I've dealt with them over the years. Also, Directed IRA is another custodian. And I'll draw two more. Advanta is another custodian, as well as Quest, which a lot of our friends down south utilize also as well. So
Yep, and quest is now in Spira. You're about by Inspira. So look, guys, hey, we're out of time. Hopefully this was not, you gained some knowledge out of this. I know it was short, but if you're interested in hearing more about self-directed IRAs and how you can grow your money better than having it sit in a 401k, reach out to us.
Jacqueline and Melvin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of Get Diversified. Please make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Finally, stop by our website and follow us on social media. Ciao for now. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, get diversified.